Welcome everyone to the America's Local Voice show right here on your TV. We're looking for the leaders in our community that can help make a difference. Those are serving in the military, serving in the government, and all the other government-related offices. And today we're really excited to have running for state rep candidate, District 114, 114th District, Ann Moloney. Ann, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me.
First, I'd like to go over a little bit about, tell us, if I were to meet Ann Moloney at an event, at a fundraiser, or at let's say you came to my front door, what would you tell me? I say, Ann, tell me about yourself. What would you say?
Well, I'd say, hello, my name is Ann Moloney, and I have 7 children serving in the United States military, and it's mom's turn to serve. And that's how I lead every conversation, because when you are a mother of many in the military, that shows that you're ready to serve and you have that attitude of service. And that's what we need in our elected seats in the House and in Jefferson City, especially. We need people that are willing to serve, that are going to be public servants. And I'm going to commit to 4 years, because that's what my kids did when they enlisted in the Navy. And then I've got 3 Air Force daughters and a Marine son. And then the 5 enlisted convinced the 2 younger brothers to try to get into the Naval Academy and do that 9-year commitment. And so I've got James just graduated from the United States Naval Academy 3 weeks ago, and I've got one that's being dropped off on Thursday at the Naval Academy. So that's 7 that have served, and then their spouses as well.
What would you say is the reason that somebody would say, I think Ann is the right person to represent us here in office?
Well, what I'd like to tell people is I have 2 ears and 1 mouth. And so I know to listen to people in my community. The people that take care, the lunch lady at school, the med techs in the hospitals, the police officers, the grocery store clerks, the people that are in the community need to have my phone number. So every single card that I give out has my phone number, my personal phone number, because I want them to be able to reach me as their representative and not to feel like I never want them to feel unheard. We don't have to agree on every topic, but when people feel that they have a voice, that's good government. That's what our nation was founded on.
Tell me some of those right directions you would go. I mean, why did you decide to get into this, and why is it you so motivated to do this?
I was 5 years old, and my dad was running for councilman in a little town called Ferguson, Missouri. You may have heard of it.
I've heard of it.
And it was 1973, and I remember holding Dad's hand as we walked through the streets of Ferguson, going door to door and talking to people. And he said, Annie, it's about protecting the unborn and keeping the communists out of schools. Was he right? And it's the same issues, right? Our schools are being infiltrated with a narrative that we didn't intend to teach. So that's my other little thing. I like to empower parents to be able to have some school choice. So that's a big one for me as well.
Well, that makes sense too. I get big issues that a lot of people do want to discuss and understand and talk about. So how is it that some of these issues are going to be addressed? First, I would say, how long have you really been on this march? I mean, is this your first time running for office?
This is, but I got highly involved with politics when I was 5, and my mom and dad, they took us to the abortion clinic at Euclid and West Pine down in St. Louis, and we would walk the sidewalk back and forth, and I had a little sign, I'll never forget it, and it had "Stop Abortion Now." And we really thought in 1973 that once the community looked at our pamphlets, our brochures, that they would see what abortion was and they would stop it immediately. I mean, my parents and the people in Missouri, Citizens for Life at the time, they literally thought that abortion would stop like in a year because it was so horrible. And but it didn't, right? So here we are with the overturning of Roe v. Wade, and there's a lot of people that are very concerned. They want to know how I'm going to vote. And, well, my license plate says PROLFE. That's my plate that I've had for 20 years.
Wow.
So that's who I am. I had a baby when I was 16. And so I know what it's like to feel like you want to have an abortion. I know what it's like to be panicked and afraid and crying and not have any idea what you want to do and how your life might be ruined. But my son was born 10 days after my 16th birthday. And I had braces on my teeth, and it was quite a little scandal. Actually, I was the first girl to be allowed to stay in a Catholic school in the Archdiocese of St. Louis. Not something I'm really proud about, but I was the first pregnant girl that they let stay in a high school. Because before that time, they said, no, you've got to leave if you're pregnant. But then women were getting abortions, and then they were being allowed to stay in, and the girls that were giving their babies life were getting kicked out. So the Archdiocese said, that can't happen anymore, you know. So I was actually the first girl in 1984 to be allowed to stay in. I went to Rosary High School. We just had our 35-year anniversary, and it was, my son died at 35. He died 2.5 years ago. And so for all of my friends at Rosary High School that were at this 35-year reunion, it was really interesting because we went through this scandal of Anne's pregnancy as a sophomore, and then the realization that, wow, you know, that little life that was so unexpectedly died. And it was kind of like the hammer, you know, hitting the nail in the coffin on how we really felt that you've got to protect life. We have to protect life because every life is sacred and every life has meaning.
Well, that's some strong points you make there. And let's come back to the topics because we will come back to all of those in a minute. I want to finish up with a little more about your background.
Okay.
And so you can tell us a little bit more about, let us get to know Anne Moloney and why you should represent the 114th district here as a state rep.
All right. Well,
tell me more of after high school and a little bit more of the path, and now 7 kids that have served in our military.
Well, I had a total of 9 children. I had a little girl that died at birth 21 years ago, and then I had a son that passed away, of course, David, 2.5 years ago. But I mainly raised my children, and I assisted my ex-husband now in a financial planning firm for, we had that for 30 years together. And unfortunately, that ended in a divorce. But I learned a lot about the financial planning industry and a lot about the administration there. I had my life insurance license at one time. And then I was also the Secretary Treasurer of the E. Walter Hostetti Foundation for 10 years. And that brought a lot of joy to me because I got to be up close and personal with a lot of 501c3 charitable organizations. The charity mainly gave to poor children, churches, and animal shelters. So I found myself in a lot of those places in Jefferson County, the Jefferson County Rescue Mission, Birthright of Hillsborough. We gave to all kinds of different organizations that benefited the community, the YMCA, the developmentally disabled, Pony Bird. Had a lot of fun meeting those people that give so much, you know, that really give themselves.
Okay, so you've got quite the background with regard to community and a lot of charitable stuff, business. I mean, so you're kind of encompassing the whole spectrum here for somebody that we want to know the background, at least, about why we should vote for you. Let's talk a little bit. I want to show it on the TV wall behind us. We built the wall here. This is our TV wall. And give a little bit of the, just where people can find more information, find out a little bit more about you. And as we share that, I'll put it up on the wall for everyone to see so that you guys take a look there. But this is a lot of good information you've decided to share with the community, and people now can study what you do to a large extent, so they can say, oh, there we go. There's somebody that does do a good job to represent us and making a difference. Bear with me as we
sure. Well, after my divorce, I actually ended up, I was a state sales rep, so I sold education systems to schools all over the state of Missouri. So I've literally been to every corner of Missouri and I've had the honor and privilege to meet superintendents and teachers and principals that purchased our products, and I'd go in and do the installation. So that was a great thing, and to meet all the people at those different levels in the Missouri School Association. So that was also, that also lends to what I can provide at the state level in the House. But the other little thing that I have is I'm also a health coach, and I have a little Facebook page called Motivating Mom. It started with an article years ago that I wrote for a little paper called The Rock newspaper in Jefferson County. And I just told little cute stories in the paper about my children. And then it turned into a Catholic radio show for a dozen years on Covenant Network. And we went to about 5 states and covered a lot of pro-life topics. And so that's kind of more of my area of expertise there. I'm also a gun owner. I'm a hunter. I taught my children to hunt. My ex-husband was not a hunter, but my sons wanted to hunt. So I actually went to the Missouri Department of Conservation and got all the qualifications to become a hunter, and got to assist my son in a youth hunt. And then the next year I got my own deer. So in 2019, I got my first buck, and my only deer, I hate to say, but I keep trying. And so, so the gun, the Second Amendment, is really important to me because we need to protect ourselves from a tyrannical government. That is that's the institution of the Second Amendment. That's what it's all about.
Motivators for Moloney. That's Moloney. So make sure everybody spells Moloney correctly. But this is your website.
Yes.
If people want to donate, find out the issues, you can take a look here. I'll breeze around here a little bit and show everybody a little bit about the site, because you do have a lot of great information out there, and it is important for people to know this about you. So if you will, tell us a little bit about here. You've got the Connect with Us from the beautiful hills of Barnhart, Missouri.
Yes, I love where I live. I have a 40-acre family compound, 2 daughters and their husbands, and they each have 4 children. And I just love where I live, and I want to do the best I can for my community because, well, everybody knows I've been there for a long time. They know me. Parents and kids at Herculaneum High School know me as the concession stand manager to carpool mom, to everything you'd possibly need with track, cross country, basketball, football. I've had a lot of good years. My youngest, Mikey, is now Mike Moloney. It used to be Mikey. Sorry. He is going to graduate. He's going in as a senior, and we're very proud of him as a football player and a pole vaulter. And hopefully he'll go into the military as well, or his older siblings will probably have word with him.
A lot of people are at least exploring their opinion now with regard to Roe versus Wade being overturned. Give us your opinion about that particular decision, the way it's played out, and then give us because a lot of people are misinformed. They don't understand exactly how it affects everyone. But if you would, give us your side and how you feel it's going to affect us here in America, in this country.
Well, the respect for life that's our first inalienable right. It's the right to life. We have to, that's a God-given right. Man doesn't really have the power to take that away from people. So it's really important that we as a community, it was Mother Teresa that said that a nation that kills its children is a nation without hope. And it's true. If you want to demoralize an entire culture, kill the children. Don't protect the old. And so I'm pro-life from the womb to the tomb, and that means that we respect life in all its forms, and special needs people and people that, elderly people that need to have dignified death. But right now at the doors, I'm hearing people in a total panic, and they're like, the narrative goes, well, what about that gal that gets raped and she's going to have to now carry that baby? Well, that's about 0.01% of the abortions in this country. And the baby didn't do anything wrong. And yes, it is a violation for somebody to be raped, but we can help that woman get through that pregnancy with counseling and love and making her feel secure and safe, and educate her so that she is confident that she's making the right decision. There's a lot of women that have given birth to babies that were conceived by rape, and they have a lot of dignity and integrity. In fact, one of my very best friends was adopted, and she was always very pro-life except when it came to rape and incest. And so one day her family found her. She was 45 years old, and lo and behold, her biological mother told her, "You were conceived by a rape." And from that day on, Debbie was 100% pro-life. When she figured out, wow, my mom gave me this gift, and it is a gift, and it is, yeah, we give birth. We're women, and that's one of the greatest benefits, or one of the greatest gifts of life as a woman, is to be able to give life to another human being, to be a co-creator with God, to create another soul. And it's a very sacred, and there's a lot of dignity to it that we've taken away from 50 years of this abortion-minded society. So we have to turn back to dignity and integrity and realize that, yes, we do care about women. We care about women enough to say, we've got something, we're going to help you, and we're going to help you get through this. And that's what was said to me when I was just 15 and pregnant. And I went to Birthright. We've got a lot of different crisis pregnancy centers here in Missouri, all over the nation. You can't argue that. There's tons of help for women in crisis.
Let's talk about another big one. The Second Amendment has become another law passed. A couple laws were controversial that have come up recently. And in New York, there were requirements. You had to prove that your life was in danger before you could get a gun. And the Supreme Court stepped in and said, that's unconstitutional as well. So another big change there. But there was also a new amendment to allow that background checks are at least more readily pursued among kids that were under the age of 21, I believe, which makes sense. So the right to bear arms in the United States Constitution, the Second Amendment, has become a pretty hot topic again, and continues to be, because there's a lot to cover there. There's a lot that impacts the way we function in our community. Tell us, if you would, Ann, some of your thoughts about how that particular amendment should be handled best for the benefit of our community and everyone that lives in this country.
Well, first of all, you have to understand that the mass shootings are causing a lot of emotional response. And so people are jumping. How do we stop these mass shootings? Well, you could take away everybody's gun. The bad guys are still going to get the guns, right? So that's the first thing we have to realize. The bad guys will always be able to get the guns. But we hear about the mass shootings, but we don't hear about the mass shootings that are stopped because somebody had a gun that day and was able to stop that person. And of course, I don't like a violent society, but I mean, we're watching, look at what people watch and the video games and everything. That does, make things a little bit more shoot 'em up, right? Well, I recently got on a international prayer group. And so I'm on this every morning, 5 a.m. prayer group with people all over the world: Australia, Malaysia, Philippines, the European countries, Mexico. And they plead with me. They said, do not give up your guns, because America is the last bastion of freedom. We are the hope of the entire world. The Australians tell me that they feel so helpless. Their government can make them get a shot every 2 months if they want to. If you're not vaccinated well enough, you're going to this camp. And these are from people that live there, that I talk to almost on a daily basis. So you have to listen to people around the world. Now, I also knew the priest that his first communion class was gunned down. And it was horrible. But they certainly don't want to live the way they are now, where they have no protection against a government that wants to impose anything that they want.
Yeah, it is one of the more sensitive topics, because it doesn't just sit as, should you be able to fire guns and shoot guns off as you feel as part of your entertainment or pastime, but it is literally a matter of should you be able to protect yourself. All right, so let's go to our next little topic here. I mean, this is we're doing well, because these are big issues that a lot of people don't discuss, not openly, and it's something they should have some discussion. Another big one, most recently, freedom of speech, and it's been kind of it's kind of taken a back burner here for the last few months. But over the election, there was a whole lot of discussion about. I dealt with a few things personally with regard to what I do with marketing and media and stuff we had to do with clients, et cetera. And it gets to be, you can't run into a room and scream. I'm not going to say it. Hey, the room is not safe
Yeah.
when it's not, because that's freedom of speech to be able to give your a funny, in case it would be a joke, I guess. And so if it's in a comedic sense, but outside of that, should there be freedom to be able to say, and why should there be freedom for everyone to say what is their perspective and opinion, no matter how smart or unintelligent it may be? Where do we stand on that?
Well, I think all of my children have been serving in the United States military just so that we can have the ability to say what we don't like and what we do like. But I know on, like, for instance, with Facebook, I might see a really cool YouTube video that has, just all kinds of really cool stuff about what I think is a good, what I think is fact. And then I try to put it out there as, I try to share it on Facebook, and, shadow banned. Doesn't go anywhere. And that's a freedom of speech issue right there. That's where I see affecting people, most everyday people, is that we're not able to put out what we want to on Facebook or YouTube, Twitter.
So to give essentially a perspective on both sides of that would be a little bit of, I believe that there are certain times when people have a discussion that could potentially be harmful. You're talking hate speech towards someone that could have a definite negative effect on their life, and be bullying per se, and other related things along those lines. What do you say to somebody who says, this bullying thing is a big issue. We shouldn't let these kids just be able to threaten and talk to people that way or post things that aren't appropriate? How does that play into the freedom of speech?
Well, I think, when you're talking about social media and bullying, actually, I did a whole hour television program on EWTN once about the tragic path of suicide. And I interviewed Christine Schmidt and her daughter. After being a victim of social media abuse and bullying, she took her own life. And so, Christine goes all around the country talking to kids about little apps they can get on, like after school, or even Facebook, and just not bullying each other, because it makes people feel so bad they commit suicide. So she's blowing the lid off of that, like many other people have. We have to, of course, be careful with how we treat other people. I don't know if as far as our freedoms of speech, we can't, those have to stay open. We have to be able to say what we want to say. I don't know how much more we can do other than to, I guess when somebody's slandering somebody, you have to, you're able to sue them, get them to stop. Those are all very intricate things that I don't have every answer for sure.
All right, cool topics, cool stuff here. A lot of people may not realize this, but as the Cardinal Cowboy, I do get into the political world a lot, and my dad was quite involved with politics, and so we would talk about these issues at length and how they affect and what the best strategies may be. So my dad was quite the philosophic type of person, a philosopher, as they say, and we want to have these topics discussed. Another big one that's become very controversial, or at least very disconcerting to a lot of people at this point, because it does greatly impact their pocketbook currently. And so when you're talking about how the method that you get to work, the method that you sustain your business, the way you provide your service, to transport your employees or to transport your product, gas has now become a major concern for our country, and we've seen it go from an average below $2 to now over $5. That's a you want to talk about price increase, almost a 300%, or I'm sorry, 250% increase in price. How does that impact people and the way they function now, and on a monthly basis, when you're going from spending, if you were going $150 a month, now you're spending, close to $400 a month, and that affects a lot of families. What is your perspective on that, and how we should be handling? Why is that issue such a burden on us right now?
Well, this last weekend, I was just with everybody down in beautiful Festus, Missouri, at the Twin City Days, the Firecracker Festival, and people were walking a lot more. They were riding their bikes because the gas is such a huge problem right now, and it's affecting our whole economy. Where I live, of course, globally, in the United States, it's huge, but especially where I live, it's a lot of blue collar people. It's a lot of people that are just barely getting by. So they're digging into credit cards. They're starting to bring in they're upping their debt, and this is a huge problem, Carter. And so we want to do everything we can, like open the pipeline, of course, open the pipelines, do everything we can to produce. I know our previous president had us in a very good situation, and we've seen things just decline so quickly. It's shocking, but there's outrage now. When I go to a door, people are just like, the whole world's gone crazy and I don't have enough money to put in my gas tank. It's really, they're getting depressed and down, the people are.
Yeah, well, that is one of the more impacting, part of the discussion that was on a post that was on Facebook, and a well-known person who's I just say he's well-known in the St. Louis community. He's been on national networks and local networks, and he said, put the topic out there for discussion. And it boiled down to, okay, and it was, the initial was Roe versus Wade, and then it shifted into a discussion about, is that and he brings it up in his post, is that the primary issue that's going to be on the minds of people, or are they more likely to be more concerned with what we're dealing with gas? And now our next topic we can talk about real quickly, groceries, inflation. Prices have now skyrocketed where they used to be, nobody's got a free lunch here, but the prices again, we're seeing inflation that they aren't doing at 8% on a national level, but we've seen prices of cars and other things, et cetera, that have gone 20, 25, 30%. And that really impacts the pocketbook for families that are not in that upper class, and a lot of people in the middle class are dealing with that, and especially the people that don't have much income at all, near the poverty level. So what is your perspective on inflation at this point and how it's impacting us?
Oh, it's killing us. It's just killing us. People are getting hopeless, and they don't know what to do. It's really getting scary for a lot of the folks that live around me. They're very concerned about how to feed their children. The food pantries, there's a lot more demand, and there's less people donating to the food pantries. And so this is a really big problem for our nation right now. And it's terrible, really. And it's part of the reason that I'm running, because we need people that are able to make good decisions. And I know I can do that for my community.
There it is, everybody. So Ann Moloney, thank you for joining the show here with us. And we had a great discussion. Lots more we can talk about. You're welcome to come back anytime.
Thank you.
And hopefully
thank you for having me.
We can have a lot more. And let's just make this world and planet, and especially the United States, a better place.
Oh, amen to that, brother.
All right. You've been watching our new rendition here of our fun show, America's Local Voice, americaslocalvoice.com. We hope you tune in for more excitement as we continue here. Thanks, everybody, and we will be talking to you.